Welcome all to this chapter. Today I would like to start talking about Red Hat servers, and to be more specific, I would like to explain how you can actually connect to one via remote. And for this we're going to need two systems. Basically, one will be a server and another one will be a Red Hat. Basically a client, so to say. For that purpose, I have chosen to download CentOS. CentOS is basically Red Hat. It's almost exactly the same. There's about 2% difference in between the two. Nothing that anybody would actually notice. Most of the differences are negligible. In fact, I have advised all to actually use CentOS at the beginning of the course, as it is free and you will be able to follow through the course without any problems. So I will now bring up my second machine. My second machine will be my server, which will be CentOS, and I will use my existing machine, which is a Red Hat, in order to connect to this server via SSH. SSH is a communication I suppose you can say that it's a way of communicating between two machines. You basically log into a machine via remote, and then there you can execute commands, and all traffic is heavily encrypted, so not only you and the other person on the other side can actually know what is going on, as anybody in between or anybody else will not be able to see pretty much anything. Anyway, in order for us to do this, we will first need to download CentOS. Their official website is www.centos.org. You can just go ahead and click on Get CentOS Now. Now there are several things here. It is possible for you to actually download a minimal ISO and then install a non-GUI, something of a kind, but for the purposes of this tutorial I have downloaded a full version because I am able to get a full screen there. But you yourselves will not need a full screen, so you can actually download a minimal ISO file without any GUI interface of whatsoever. This is not a bad idea because it will consume minimal amount of resources, and considering that this is a virtual machine, every bit of resource, any amount of resources is, resources on our systems are limited, and the less you use, the better it is. Let me put it like that. But as I said, for the purpose of this tutorial, I would like to have a full screen, so I will download a full DVD ISO. Do not worry, I'm not going to download it now during the tutorial, rather instead I have downloaded it previously. But you can also go ahead, and it says ISOs are also available via torrent, so you can go ahead and click there, and then you have these different things. These are 64-bit versions. If you need a 32-bit version, you can go ahead and click on Alternative Downloads, if I'm not mistaken, and there you go. Unfortunately, CentOS 7, I don't see a 32-bit version here, but doesn't matter. You can download CentOS 6.6 here, i386. That would be the 32-bit version. You will be able to do pretty much the same things that we do here. If you have a 32-bit system, you won't be deprived of pretty much anything. Some of you might say, oh, but it's not the latest version or something of a kind. Well, the difference in the versions usually are the high-end features and their fine-tuning, so to say. Something that somebody who is learning, somebody who is trying to pass the Red Hat Certified System Administrator exam is not going to notice that much. Anyway, so pick the version that you need, download it, and I have already downloaded mine. I have a virtual box here, so I have Red Hat. It is up and running. You can see my previous session. One of my previous sessions is here anyway. I just cleared the screen, and I will leave Red Hat as it is. I will leave the machine running. I have enough resources on this particular machine to allot to the next machine, but if you don't, as I said, install the minimal version and give less resources. And I do have a ton of other virtual machines here. None of them are running at the moment. They're all powered off, but I would like to create a new one, which will be CentOS. The installation is pretty much the same. I will quickly go through it so that you may see it. CentOS. It is immediately recognized as if you type in CentOS, it will recognized as a Linux system, and it immediately recognizes it as a Red Hat 64-bit version. There's also a 32-bit version if needed. So just go ahead and click on Next. Cannot create a machine CentOS in the parent folder. This folder already, oh yeah, okay, so I have one of my machines that is named, oh yes, I do have another machine which is named exactly the same. I'm using that one for a completely different purpose, so I won't mess with it. This one I will name CentOS Udemy. Let's put it so, CentOS Udemy. You can name it whatever you wish. I simply couldn't name it CentOS because I already have a machine called CentOS. Go ahead and click on Next. I will allot at least 1 GB of RAM, even though it can run on less. Next. How much space? I will give it about 128 gigs. You can get away with 20 if you don't have enough space. Maybe 20 is not the best of ideas. Try in between 30 and 50 if you're trying to save space, but it should work out without any problems anyway. Go ahead and click on Create, and there you go, we have this. So right click on it, say Settings, click on Settings, go to Storage, select the device, and first click on Controller ID where it says Empty, and then let's go ahead and choose our virtual CD DVD drive. Where is it? Okay, there we go. So mine is in Downloads. Yours is wherever you've downloaded it. Most likely in Downloads again. Doesn't matter if you're doing this on a Windows or a Linux system. My host is Linux, but it's completely irrelevant whether your host is Windows or Linux or Mac. The procedure is basically the same. Just download a file from the net and then select it here in the VirtualBox interface, because VirtualBox interface is pretty much the same for all operating systems out there that are supported. So I have CentOS 64 DVD. Yep, I will take this one. Is this the one that I want? No. I have the DVD down below, so I will select that one. And there we go, I have the ISO file. Go ahead and click on OK. Now I will power the machine on and let the installation fly. Install CentOS 7. I can also test the media, but I won't because this is a virtual machine and I'm fairly certain that everything is alright, as I have used this image prior to this tutorial for other purposes. This hardware has not undergone upstream testing. Please consult. I don't really care. It will run. It is amazing how many things can actually go wrong and Linux system will still actually manage to boot and run, which is a bit weird, but still it works. Don't ask me how, it just works. And you definitely won't need to know this for Red Hat, how, why, kernel, the background of things, etc. for the exam. Anyway, go ahead and select your language. I will leave the default one because actually I'm going to select UK because I use a UK keyboard. So go ahead and click on Continue. Going a bit slow here, but doesn't really matter. I will just select the default options here primarily because it doesn't really matter to me, but I don't want a minimal install. I personally will go ahead and say server with GUI, but you can also say minimal install and this will consume the least amount of resources in your system, but I want the server with GUI. So what do we want here? There are a few things that we can actually install from here. So we can go ahead and select our desktop environment, which will be KDE, and notice that you do have more options here depending on which version of Red Hat you purchase from the net, and not the version, but which package of Red Hat that you purchase from the net. That is the amount of options that you will have, like these here. But with CentOS you have all the options by default. That is why it is good to have CentOS first to actually test out all the options and then actually buy Red Hat if you need it. So what else do we need? So KDE, I don't really need any of these things. I don't need a database, virtualization tools, not at the moment. Development, compatibility libraries is not a bad idea. Always. We will later on install LDAP as well. I wonder if I can actually find it here. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I will show you how to install it from the command line. Anyway, so we have done that. I don't really see the need for anything else really. I just need a desktop and that's it. Everything else I will install manually. We'll go ahead and click on done. Installation destination, I will also just click on done. That's gonna consume the whole disk. I'm sure that you remember we went through all these steps and we have seen how all this works, and hopefully by this point of time it is all clear. If it's not, go ahead and ask any questions that you like. I want to configure my network settings. I want to say bridged mode, and oops, I forgot to do this. Deny, allow all, okay. Network not connected. I do want the network to be connected during the installation. It can be very useful and very important. So begin installation, set root password, just some nonsensical password that doesn't really matter, but I would advise you to actually put something strong on a production environment. For a virtual machine you can do whatever you want here pretty much. You need to click on done twice if the password is bad. So next, for username we will use creator, and down below I need to type in the password. I'm just gonna go ahead and type in the same one because it's completely relevant now. Click on done twice because it won't allow you to actually do it without clicking it twice if the password is not the best, if the password does not conform with the standardized rule. But since we are the ones performing the installation, it is assumed that we are root, that we have complete control, so we can bypass all of those things. Anyway, I will pause the video here and then we will continue, not in the follow tutorial, but rather instead we will continue within this tutorial. I'll just pause it so you don't have to sit through the installation for no reason of whatsoever. Okay, so the installation is complete. Let's just go ahead and reboot the device. Reboot the machine actually, sorry. Should take just a bit of time, no big deal there. There we go, it's booting it up. Just select the first one, press enter, that's all you need to do. And then you'll be prompted with a login screen, just like in Red Hat, no big deal there. Pretty much the same thing in every sense that matters to us. Let me just go ahead and exit this to see if I can expand it. Now it's not going to catch virtual guest editions by default. I won't show you how to install VirtualBox guest editions here because I already have for Red Hat, and it's exactly the same procedure. There is nothing different that you need to do here in order to obtain a full screen. So I will do that outside of a tutorial in order to save us a little bit of time. Now you will need to accept a license here, just like you have to do with Red Hat. So just go ahead and click on done, but you don't have to pay for anything. Just say finish configuration and that's it. It's completely free, no extra charges or anything of a kind. All the updates, repos, and everything else that you might think of that comes along with CentOS is pretty much free as far as CentOS itself as an environment is concerned. Now I'm just waiting for it to boot up. Sometimes I wish I had like 4-socket computer or something of a kind with 4 processors on it. That'd be nice. Then I could assign multiple cores to these machines. I can do so now, but it would slow down my physical machines significantly. So let's go ahead and log in. Oops. Just sign in. Shouldn't take long now. Just this black ugly screen. Oh well, what can you really do about it? That's the way it is. That's the way you get accepted. Any moment. Come on. I am literally begging you. Please, pretty please. Booting for the first time. I guess it takes a bit longer. Excellent, so there we go. If I just right click on the screen and click open in terminal, that's the fastest way to open up a terminal. And just as I say that, okay, there's the welcome screen. I need to go ahead and click next through that. Basically, if you want to configure your keyboard, feel free. Okay, so now we have our terminal here, and oh, come on, I do not require GNOME help. Okay, this is to be honest, it's gonna ask you this the first time you install it. I will go ahead and zoom this in so you can see it better. Excellent. So what do we need here? What we need to install the SSH server, and we need to verify that we have connectivity. Now let's do a few things with the network first. There will be a separate section on network configuration, but for the time being I will just go through just a few basic commands that you can memorize like this, and then later on I will give detailed explanations as far as network is concerned. We need to know these things because, well, we need to know the IP address if we want to connect to the other server, or we need to know the host name, but then that host name needs to get resolved somewhere, and we don't have a DNS server. I don't really have a DNS server here. Rather, instead, problem has occurred in first boot. I sincerely hope I didn't click restart there. Anyway, I don't have a DNS server set up here, so we will be using IP addresses, and then later on we will see what we will use for LDAP. The first thing that we need to do is verify that we are connected to internet, so just go ahead and type in ping, and the address that's at the top of my mind is basically google.com unknown host. So we do not have internet connectivity. This can be a problem. Go ahead and click on devices. Let's see, are we in bridged mode? Bridged mode, PHP1, allowed. Okay, so all of this seems fine and dandy. Let me see what does our network manager here says. Wired, off, on. Let's turn it off. Actually on, sorry. There we go. So if we type in ping google.com, this is going to work. Excellent, we're getting a reply. Let's clear the screen. Now let us go ahead and type in ifconfig. This command might be familiar to you because in Windows you would type in ipconfig, but here you will type in ifconfig. Press enter and you will get a few interfaces down below. So we are at the moment using this interface, ENP0S3, and this is the IP address. Yours might be a bit different depending on how your router or your computer assigns these things, depending how your connection is set up. Completely irrelevant. What you need is your functioning interface, and then you need to know the IP address of that interface, and you will need to confirm that you are, well, you don't actually need to be connected to internet for this because we are doing everything internally, which is kind of convenient for us, but for the time being I want you to know where you can actually find your IP address. Go ahead and clear the screen, type in yum, same as in Red Hat, yum search SSH, press enter, and this is gonna take will consume a little bit of your time until it actually figures it out, and there you go. So there is open SSH server x86-64. This is what we will need. So if we go ahead and clear the screen and type in yum install and then paste in this particular file, press enter, the installation will run. Of course it won't. We need to be root. Sometimes I forget these things, I don't know why. So go ahead and type in yum install. I sincerely hope that the screen and the terminal are large enough. I can see them clearly, and I'm sitting quite some distance away from my screen. So I hope that all of you can see it as well. But then again, I have pretty good sight. Press enter, and this will begin the installation procedure. But since another application is holding yum locked, which is my pending updates, I will need to kill it first, and that we're going to deal with this in the follow-up tutorial where we will continue because I am running a bit short on time here.